If we look at deer nutrition strategies, if you start feeding, you need to take a look at your habitat. If your habitat is being really crowded by consumption of cattle, sheep, goats, as well as deer, then something's got to give. And it could be that you need to remove livestock or reduce livestock, not necessarily replace or eliminate, but reduce their numbers to reduce the competition. Sheep and goats can exist with deer and do on many ranches, but they keep their sheep and goat numbers under control, and they try to keep their deer numbers under control as well. Deer, even though they don't eat but a small amount of forbs, do compete with deer to some extent. And if they're grazing the grass off very short, they're eating the forbs and they're probably browsing just a little. So even cattle, reducing cattle numbers can help with population control. But primarily, it's deer. If you've got a deer to 3 acres and you're trying to grow quality deer, you're running uphill. You need to reduce the more we reduce the numbers of deer in a pasture or in a habitat, the more they have to eat and the more selectivity they have, which means they can pick a better diet. The biggest competitor in the pasture to a white-tailed deer is another white-tailed deer. It eats the same diet. So reducing deer numbers can be very critical to helping you with your feed program or just your quality of deer program. You can also try to increase forages. We talked about food plots, grazing management, rotating cattle, giving pastures a rest can give forbs a good chance to grow and provide more forage to deer. Prescribed burning can be very beneficial in that it kind of freshens up forage, comes back very green, a little bit of a boost in protein and minerals. Burning can be a very, very efficient part of a feeding program. Access to supplemental feed, you just can't go out and put one feeder in a big old pasture and expect everybody to eat. This is my concept of how to disperse feeders, food plots, and waters to provide for deer in different areas. When there's a feeder set up, there's a dominant male or 2 or 3 that use that feeder that will fight off a lot of young deer those young deer that you're hoping to feed. So one feeder in the center of this particular pasture would not be very effective for feeding everything that lived out on the fringes. By scattering your feed stations around, that makes more work for you, but it provides more for the deer, gives them more opportunity to find a place they can eat and not have to fight for survival every time they do. Feeding precautions. Start slowly. The rumen is a fantastic organ. It can do lots of things, but you have to give it a chance to acclimate. Give those microorganisms an opportunity to acclimate to new feed. So when you change feeds, you want to do it slowly and take time with it. Try food plots. Give food plots a chance. Try them. If they work, great. If they don't, well, we'll all learn lessons the hard way. Transition through feed changes. If you're changing from one feed to another at some time, if you just let the feeder run empty and you put new feed in the feeder, sometimes it can take a week or 2 or 3 for deer to adjust to that change. What my recommendation is when the feed is about halfway down in the feeder, pour your new feed in on top of it. It'll mix as it flows out through the middle, and by the time you feed that bin up, you will have introduced those deer to the new feed and they've moved on to it easily. And again, remember the fawns. Don't fence out the fawns. We try our dangest to keep hogs out of our deer feeders, but most of the time we're fencing out fawns, and those weaned fawns who have one of the greatest nutritional supplement needs in the pasture, don't have access to it, it's tough for them to survive the winter. Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you today. I hope you've gained something. Good luck with the rest of camp. I know you're going to enjoy it and have a great opportunity. Thank you.